Hello and welcome to this video. While I'm waiting for the proposal for Holy Wells to be approved, which should happen hopefully tomorrow, I was thinking about what I could do as a video. And since we had a task last week for St. Patrick's Day about mapping all townlands containing Patrick in the name, I thought I might as well map a townland that has Tober in its name. So I will do this in this video, and it took me about an hour, I think, to do the whole townland, and some of you might find it interesting. It just goes to show that choosing basically a random townland, you will find heritage in it. And the only criteria I used to choose it was it had Tober in it, and I didn't check beforehand if it had any built heritage in it. So, and it did turn out to have it. And it was quite interesting for me to map that townland that I'd never heard of before, and that I will probably never go to either. But I hope you enjoyed, and maybe you learn a thing or two.
So I've started an overpass turbo query for a townland. So admin level equals 10, has Tober in its name. So you don't use the equals, but instead the wavy line, whatever it's called in English. And I'm looking in Tipperary because it's undermapped, and it's always good to do a bit more in Tipperary. And I'll run that query now and see how many we'll get. So there are 4 townlands in Tipperary that have Tober in it. 2 near Clonmel, which I'm not gonna use. This one, probably wouldn't expect many houses in it because there's too much of Sleeve them on in it. So I'll use this one here. It is called Toberadora or something. And there's an Loch Anam link as well. So if I click on the link up here on the top, it opens it on OpenStreetMap, and it's neighboring Holy Cross by the looks of it. Sorry, the fire just started cracking. So I will open this in JOSM now. I'll use JOSM for this task because it'll be quicker. And if you haven't seen me use JOSM yet, it'll give you an interesting insight. And if you're only mapping with the ID editor, it might give you the incentive to start using JOSM instead. So instead of just clicking on edit, I click on the little arrow, and it gives me the option to use the ID editor or JOSM. And then it always gives me this warning that it hasn't connected with JOSM, but it's lying. And this is what JOSM looks like. The purple line is the townland boundary, so I'll stay within that. You can't see any satellite imagery because I haven't chosen one. It's up here under imagery. This is not an introduction into JOSM because I would have to explain how to download and how to connect it to OpenStreetMap and all that. There are videos about that though. So under imagery, I'll choose the Esri World Imagery Clarity Beta because it's usually the sharpest. And then also I will choose down here under map, Ireland British War Office map, because I'm hoping that there is a Holy Well in this townland. Seems to be, there's a ring fort or a hill fort here, and there seems to be, I'm not sure if that is a place name or the river is also called Toberadora, so there must be a spring somewhere. There doesn't seem to be one in this townland, unfortunately, which was I was hoping for. Ah well. And then also I'm going to choose Bing aerial imagery because it's the most recent in case somebody has built a new barn. And I might have to align them slightly. hoping that the roads are mapped correctly. I'm not so sure about that. I'll go back to Esri by using the, I don't know what the key is called on the keyboard, above the tab. And I'll go back to Esri and just fix this road here, which seems a bit like it's been drawn by someone drunk. I didn't check who did it. I'm just joking, okay? Don't be offended. Yeah, that looks a bit better now. I was trying to line up the line of the road with the middle line of the road, if there is one. Which of course in the country is not always the case. Yeah, and now I can change back to Bing, and you see it's a bit offset, so I can correct that. Hopefully that'll do. Bing imagery is a bit patchy, so if I align it to the road here, I might have to align it again for another road because it's a different age imagery. I think I might have left the townland there. And then also if I go choose the British War Office map, I might have to align that as well, but it looks okay-ish. Okay. So this line here, if I remember correctly, is my boundary. So I'll go back to the British War Office map and look at the potential ring fort. They've built over it. I'm still gonna mark it as an archaeological site, so I'll guess if I follow the Bing, that seems to be a bit clearer where it goes. I'll leave out the house because you can't, or the barn, because you can't dig under the barn anyway. The rough outline of the site, yeah, and then I add my tags. On the right there is a button that says add, and I use historic archaeological site, and I can click OK, but then I have to open the same window again. So if I press shift enter, I can add the next tag, and I used to have a preset for ring forts, but because I have a new computer I had to install every program anew, and I haven't made all the presets. So after historic archaeological site we have site type fortification, and then fortification type ring fort. It doesn't look super hilly and it looks pretty circular, so I'm going for a ring fort rather than hill fort. And historic civilization early medieval. There isn't a name on it, so that's all we can do for now. And let's see if there are any more in this townland. Doesn't seem to be. There's something here about that. Yeah, that's just a quarry. It could be a digger here, an excavator. So maybe it's still in use as a quarry, or it was when that satellite imagery was taken. So yeah, there's nothing. I mean, the dispensary is interesting, but there's no tag for a dispensary, so I'll just tag it as a normal building or a house. If there was, could tag it as building equals dispensary, and then building use house. Building use is for what it's used for at the moment. So I'm going back to this farm where they built into the ring fort and just start mapping the buildings. And there are several really useful plugins for JOSM. As you can see, I can just draw a perfect rectangular building there, which is one of the plugins, the buildings plugin. And I could actually, because it has two roofs, it looks to be like more two barns, or I don't know. There is a terracer plugin, and that lets me just, if I press Shift T, it opens this dialog and it asks me how many segments there are, and there are 2, so that's the default. And then I can put in a building type, and it's a farm auxiliary. I don't know any more specific. This is really useful if you have a terrace of 6, 10, 12 houses and you want them in perfect rectangular shape, but you can also use them just for sheds and barns. And also what's useful, now that I have this still highlighted, whenever I start the next building it will be parallel to this one, which tends to be the case. People like to build their houses in the same alignment. And these 2 are farm auxiliary as well. And then here we have the house. And another nice feature is that I'll go back. I can extrude these rectangles by using the extrude tool. There are a lot of hotkeys on JOSM, which there is a list for, which if I remember, I will link below. Most of them I have by heart now because I do a lot of mapping. So if I press X and double click on this, it gives me a new node on this line, and I can just extrude this. But then how do I know exactly where to put the dot here so that it's parallel? So sometimes what I do instead is have this highlighted so I can get the next one will be parallel or rectangular, and I just draw another one. This is useful for churches, for example, and then I can join the 2 by pressing Shift J for join. And this is a house, presumably. And then there is another building here which doesn't seem to be rectangular. So I just hit escape to get out of the parallel mode and draw this one, and I would presume it's also farm auxiliary. And that's all the buildings here. There is a driveway leading up to it, and I'll just draw that. And I do have a preset for a driveway up here, and it just combines highways equals service and service equals driveway. What I can also add is access private, and that's that farm yard. I could also do I won't do all the land uses because that's going to take too long. I could draw an area around for the farmyard and say it's land use farmyard, but I'm not exactly sure of the extent, so I'm not going to do that. There is a track here that I'm going to draw. It seems to lead to an older farm that is in ruins now. Let's just fix that. And this is highway track. It could also be defined as highway service. And let's zoom in here. The buildings apart from this barn here is probably a hay barn. Hay, I don't know. I don't know the exact tag for a hay barn, so I'm gonna go with farm auxiliary again. But these buildings seem to be all ruined, so it might have been an old farmyard. I'm just gonna check the British War Office map. Yeah, so there were 3 buildings there and we can see the remains still. So I'm just gonna have those. It looks like there is a building in the middle as well, but it's not. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm gonna leave that out and highlight all 3 of them and tag them as ruins. This might be a tractor or something going around, and there is a stream here which, oops, still in the on the track there. The stream, I'll just start it here and then continue wherever I see it going. So seems to go this way. Yep. And this is waterway stream, I think. So what's this one here is the shore. And this one is the Toberadora stream, so I was right. So we can add the name Toberadora stream, and it goes up all the way here. I will continue that, and you can see here that there used to be a mill. Don't think there's much of a trace there. There might be a ruin here, I'm not sure. Can't really see it. If anyone lives near there, take a walk, figure it out. And yeah, it goes under here somewhere. It's a very green stream. It's difficult to make out. Yeah, I think I'll leave it here because I'm not quite sure where it continues. And it did cross a couple of roads, so I will split the stream here. I highlighted these 2 nodes and there's a button up here. Split away at the selected node, and then I can highlight only this bit and define it as a tunnel. And down here as well. And I'm just gonna add 2 more nodes to be closer to the path because it's not as wide as a road. And it shows when you install it first, it has a list of the last 5 tags you used, but you can change the number, as I discovered yesterday, by right-clicking here and set number of recently added tasks, and I just set it to 10 because on my old computer it was set at 10 by default somehow. So I changed it to 10 because I'm used to that. It really depends on how diverse your tagging is. If you only do houses, then of course you don't need it, but if you're adding several different things, it might be useful to change the number. This looks like a water body, I'm not sure. There's nothing there. Yeah, I don't know what it is, I'll leave it. So that's this farm done, mostly. I'll go down here. I will probably fast forward some of this when I'm editing. And if you don't want the comments, you can just turn off the volume and listen to some relaxing music instead of my voice. I won't know, and I can't hold it against you. I hope this is the house. There. And then this little one, I guess, is a shed. And we also want to connect them to civilization by adding a road. Oh, this is a bit annoying here, because I don't want it to connect to the townland boundary. So I have to zoom in really deep to avoid it. There we go, and I'll go with my preset for driveways again and add access private, which is still here. And while we're here, I can do this area. So that's a house, and I guess that's a shed. And just to see if there are any new houses. Oops. Oh, there's another ring fort. So the townland boundary does correspond with the hedge here, so it is safe to connect. That's. Oh wait, no, I won't. Actually, because I want to show another hotkey. So I have this now. It's not perfectly round, but it looks pretty round in real life. So what we can do, highlight the whole thing and then press O, and that makes it into a circle. Can move it around a little bit, and then see, now it would be useful if I had the preset historic archaeological site type fortification type ring fort, and historic civilization early medieval, and that adds all the four. There's no name on it. If there is a hedge that corresponds to the outline of the ring fort, I like to add it, because on the map you won't see this circle, you will just see this brown amphora indicating a historical or an archaeological site. But if you want to actually see a bit of the ring fort shape, you can use hedge or tree row, or sometimes it's completely overgrown by hawthorn or by other trees, and then you can use scrub or land use scrub or natural equals wood. But here I would think it is a hedge, and then maybe add an extra tree here, natural tree, and here. And this is the townland boundary, so I won't go any further than that further south, and I'll add some more hedges. And I like to keep the passageways open to indicate, you know, if you want to see a ring fort or some old graveyard. So when you use OpenStreetMap, and don't just map, because we map for users, so we can see where the access is. I mean, still shouldn't trespass. Let me just see if this hedge, yeah, I'll just move the townland boundary a little bit, because it does correspond with the hedge. And then, or you can merge two nodes. So I have the one of the townland boundary highlighted already, and then I can either use the shift key and try to hit this little one there, or I can hit S for select, and it'll go into the lasso, either the lasso mode or the rectangular mode, and and mark them both by doing that, and then I can press M for merge, and that merges those two nodes. See, now I don't have the lasso mode, I just have the rectangular selection mode. Yeah, and now I can continue. No, I think this is already yellow, so this is already a hedge, so I'll start here and continue down here. And just check the... I think it's safe to assume that this is the hedge that has always been the townland boundary. Because what would be nice at some point in the far future is to see how many of the townland boundaries are actually still hedges. So that's why I'm sometimes making a point of actually drawing the hedge on the townland boundary, if it does correspond, of course. Now I have a node on the townland boundary, but I don't have a node on the hedge, but I do want to connect them, and I just highlight the node on the townland boundary and press N on my keyboard, and it finds the closest line and snaps onto it. Magic. And you might have seen here, see this really faint line? That's a shadow of a power pole. I'm not sure if there is actually maybe an opening in this hedge, because there is a lot of... Oops. The kettle seems to have done some damage here. I mean, it's there, right? So I'll put a power pole here, so I use a node, and that's the other preset I have is power pole, so it's just power equals pole. And there's another one here. You can usually see the shadow, and usually the cattle has walked around it because they use it as scratching posts, I guess. So they are visible even though they're really faint. So I'm just going to copy this one here and paste it here, and there's another one here and here, but that's outside my townland. I don't see the oh, there's the next one there. They do usually also go along a road. Some of you are gonna say, bless your eyesight now. But it's just, my eyes are trained to do this. And sometimes if they're in a really clear line, you can connect them with power equals line, and sometimes you can actually see the cables in the satellite view. I can't see them here now, so I won't do that. So I'll continue with the buildings now. Another house here, and I don't always do all the driveways, just sometimes when I feel like it. I think in the British War Office map there was a smithy somewhere. I wonder if that's still, if the house is still there. Oh, it's up there. We're not there yet. So the dispensary is either one of those buildings, or it was here. There are more buildings hidden under the foliage here. They might have actually... See, it has a grey roof here, but in the Bing imagery it's red, so, and the Bing imagery is usually the latest. So if you right click, you can look at the information. Somewhere is the date. 2019 here. Between 2014 and 2019, that's not very precise. And I don't know if these are sheds or garages, so I won't tag them. I'll just leave them as building equals yes. And then move up the road. Oh yeah, this wasn't aligned properly, I just make it worse. And what you can do then is rotate, and you press Control Shift, and that goes into the rotate mode, and you can just try to align it a bit better. And sometimes it's really hard to say what type the building is. This is something farm related, I presume, unless they have, I don't know, some sort of a business there. I'll just risk it and tag them all as farm buildings. There's a little one down here. It's probably a ruin, but it still has a roof, so technically it isn't. And they seem to have a driveway here. And then the one for the farm is here. Oops. Then the next farm. Sometimes it's a bit difficult to tell which one is the house and which one is maybe a shed. But because people are lazy, I would think that the one that the car is in front is the house. I mean, it could also be the garage, but this doesn't look like a garage. Am I still in the townland? Yes. Sometimes I'm also not entirely sure. Should I extend the house to the back there because the original house was only this size? And if you do 3D tagging and roof shapes, this is a gabled roof. The other one is probably a sloped roof. So then you would have to divide it. But we cross that bridge when we get there. This could maybe be a garage because the driveway leads there. Oh, there's the smithy. So there's a ruin here somewhere. There is a tag for a smith, I'm sure, a blacksmith, but since there's no blacksmith working there anymore, there's no point tagging it as such. I wonder if I still have the power poles in my If I can paste them, yes. Phew. So as I mentioned earlier, here's a quarry. So I will tag that, oops, roughly here. It's land use quarry. It's probably not the only one in the townland. I'm really not entirely sure what this place name refers to. If it's not the river, because that follows the like the way the river goes. If this is the locality, or if it's the spring. Maybe this is the spring here, but it doesn't say spring, so I don't know. I mean, it's in the word Toberadora, obviously, but yeah, just leave it. Let someone local deal with that. Oops. Not sure, there's a ruin here. Yeah, it looks like it. Just want to add the roof shape just for fun. This is a hipped roof, and you can see that by the triangle here, and this is a round roof. So if you go back to the add tag window, the last one you used will be there, and I will just change this here to round because this is not a hipped roof on this barn. I don't think there's a tag for this kind of roof. I think there should be, because it is quite common in rural Ireland, and I don't know if other countries have this type of barn roof as well. They could just call it barn roof, I guess, or anyway. Driveway. And then they have a separate one for the farm. See, there's the same roof shape again. It would be nice to have a way to attack those. And there's another hipped roof on the house, I presume. Down here. Pity there's no manor house in this townland. I mean, for mapping's sake, because it's a bit more interesting. Farm auxiliary. I think there's another. Oops, what did I do? Power pole. And there we have reached the townland boundary. What else do we have? Seems to be a little island here. It's outside the townland boundary, but yeah, so this was as you can see, this is a very straight line and it wouldn't go across the island, and there's a dotted line here on the British War Office map, and I will just adjust that because it's in the way to tag the island. So I'm just going to do it a bit more detailed, so the townland boundary, which is also a union boundary, won't get in my way, and then I can do the island. There seems to be a little footbridge here. I haven't tagged an awful lot of islands. Let's hope I get this right. Wonder what the name is. I think it's Place Island, yeah. But then it will complain and say, this is too small for an island. Use islet instead. So I will do that. And there is another stream coming, or a ditch or something coming from there, so that it does follow the townland boundary for a bit, and then waterway stream. Yeah, I don't want to mess with the townland boundary too much. It's too difficult to fix if I do something wrong. So yeah, I'll stop it here. That's the stream. And we have another bridge here. There's also a possibility of a fort, but this isn't a fort. Ah, shoot, the tunnel is gone. Tunnel, yes. And then we will have the side arm of the river shore, and connected to the stream that's going in there. Oh yeah, what I forgot to say is to move the map around in JOSM, you have your right mouse key. You hold your right mouse key. And because I use JOSM so often, anytime I use a map on my browser, I do that now, even if it's like the GeoHive maps or the OpenStreetMap website. And I'm trying to avoid the townland boundary because I'm not entirely sure if it does follow this sidearm. And I think I should use a relation now, because I'll define it as river first, because it is a sidearm of the shore, so it is a river, I guess. And then we have the should be a relation for the shore, and I can edit that, and I have this one, the sidearm, highlighted. And if I'm doing this wrong, I'll just edit whatever this is out and click edit, and I can add this waterway. And you see how there's a lot of ones that are tagged mainstream, which this isn't. And if I use side stream, that should work. Okay. What I could also do is, you see how the river shore is wider than just this line? I could add a riverbank, but it's not within my townland, but just to show you. So you try to follow the riverbank, as the name says. There's another footbridge there. And maybe not do the whole thing because it'd be too much data. And just follow it back on the other side of the river. And connect it up, and then add waterway, and it's not river but river bank, and that makes it into an area that shows the whole river. And then on the map view on the OpenStreetMap website, it'll not just show a thin line, but it'll show the more or less true width of the river, which does make a difference if it is a somewhat wider river. And then I can use the outline of the islet here, because it is either the island or the river. There's no space in between. And here it's a bit tricky because I can't see the riverbank. That's probably where either people bathe or maybe the cattle has a refreshing drink. And there's also riverbank, and you can always grab a node and drag it a bit to modify. And I will just drag it to the footbridge here. And I won't continue the rest because I said I would only do my townland. I'll do a few more hedges. So we can see something when we look at the finished map. Barrier hedge. Oh, another power pole. And when you do a node like a power pole or a traffic sign or something like that, it will always try to attach the next line you draw to that, which can be a bit annoying. But you just hit the escape key and you're fine. Oh. And if you continue a line on an end node, it will always continue the tag you had on it. But not if you do it, like if I continue here in the middle of the hedge, it won't do that. So you have to define it as a hedge again. And sometimes it's worth doing the hedges before you do the fields, because once you've drawn all the fields, it's difficult to make out the hedges and especially the gaps in between. Even in the ID editor, I find. And I could try to make them really long and find the longest wait so I don't have to start again over and over, but someone might want to tag the species of the hedge at some point, and they might not the whole townland might have the same species of hedge. One would hope, for the sake of biodiversity, that it doesn't. And I would also hope that there isn't just one species in a hedge. I mean, flora species. Might be several different birds nesting. And these hedges are pretty straight. If you see one that isn't, it usually means that there is a stream nearby. Like down here. Or a ringford. But ringfords aren't always in the corner of a field, so it's not always indicative. Sometimes it's worth stopping and thinking, oh, how does the farmer get into the field? So I don't know about this field here. I don't see an entrance into that. Or maybe, no. It should be in this hedge, I guess. It depends on who owns the fields. And how they get access to it. Maybe I overlooked the entrance. What you can also do, of course, is, let me see if I can find an example where I can do that here maybe. If it's really, really straight, like here, there is a gap here, as you can see. But I'll just do this one line, like if you're a perfectionist. And then add a note here using the X key and another one here. Split the line and just delete this bit. There's always more than one way of doing things. Yeah. And maybe let's see if this is, so see, this one used to be 2 fields, and there's really no indication of that. Sometimes, of course there's no example now, I'm trying to show it. Here. No, I thought I could see it. No. Well, sometimes there's a tree in the hedge, and that indicates where the perpendicular hedge used to be. I can't find an example now. Maybe here. So I'll do this hedge here. And if you look here, it's a bit offset now, of course. Can't just be simple. So there's a hedge here, and roughly there's a tree here that is a bit wider than the hedge. And sometimes I just like to add the tree to the hedge, because if someone comes along and has the field names here, actually 3, used to be 3 fields. They might want to add all 3 names, and the tree will help them to indicate where to draw the boundary between them. If you get me. And let's just do 1 field, 1 land use. Yeah, so I just follow the hedge. There's no reason to leave a gap between the hedge and the field, because in real life there isn't really. And it makes the map look a bit neater. So I missed one there. I'll fix that in a minute. So I have the outline of the field now in red. And I just click on add, and land use equals farmland. And that is also automatically an area. And I can, if I go into if I highlight the area now, I can just do that by clicking in the middle of it. Well, not quite the middle. Let's see. Yeah. Anywhere within the area, double click, and that highlights the whole area. And I just grab this little plus here that indicates that I can add another node. And I'll just select, press S and select, and I can either line them up roughly, highlight them both by selecting and press M, or like earlier, select, make a new node, and then hold my N key. Oops, that didn't work. I missed my target. Hold the N key, and that should snap it onto the next. Oh, it just snaps it to the line. That's my mistake. Because I want to connect it to this node, so the first version is actually better. And I think, let's just check if there's anything more. Sluice, a dam, mill dam. I can't really see that in the satellite imagery. I think these little like crescents are indicative of boggy land. I've never really seen the key to these maps. And this line here, that's not a river, that's the, what you call them, the different height levels. Sorry, I'm lost for words. What you see here, this is 300 feet. It's all 300 feet. No benchmark in the townland. Oh, there is. There's one here. And there's another one there. And there is, so I take that back. There are benchmarks in this one. So I will, you can turn all the background imagery off as well. Just up here, turn off like that, and then you see all the lines. If you somewhat remember what it looked like in the beginning, there's a lot more now. Oh yeah, and of course I can't switch in between them if I disable them. Stupid. And I will go and save that now, and we'll look at it in, oops, I made some mistakes. Crossing highway, waterway. So it does look for mistakes, which is neat. So crossing highway, waterway. Oh, okay, it wants me to add a bridge. That's okay, I'll do that. I thought making the waterway into a tunnel would be enough, but apparently not. Bridge equals yes. So that's the preferred solution. Same here, of course. It's difficult to say how far the bridge goes. I'll just use this whole thing. And then I'll zoom out because it only you can validate what you've done by pressing the upload button, but there's also a validation window down here, but it will only look for mistakes on what's on your screen, so you might have to zoom out. It's still wrong. Sometimes it doesn't get it right. Okay, so what have I done? Crossing highway, waterway. I know. So this is a tunnel and this is a bridge. I don't see the problem here. See, and then you click validate and everything's gone. Crossing highway, waterway. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, so. And I also don't understand the next one, so I'm just gonna have to leave it and hope that the next person who comes along can fix it. And they're only warnings, they're not errors. It's not as terrible. Then you can add a hashtag, but I was mapping Armagh before, so that's still there. I don't know. Added, Jesus, a lot. Buildings, waterways, hedges, power poles. Class. What else did we add? Island. Ring forts. Etc. And then down here you can tick this box here and it adds all the sources you have used, like the satellite imagery. So you see Ireland British War Office, Bing and Esri. And if I had talked to someone there, I could also add local knowledge or survey, which I haven't, and I haven't used Mapillary or anything. Let's check if there is Mapillary. I bet there isn't. So that's another plugin for JOSM, which I have installed, and I only have to press Shift, comma to see if there is imagery. There doesn't seem to be. I didn't think so. Okay, so it has remembered everything and I can just upload. So I added 864 objects. It's quite a bit. And I can go back to OpenStreetMap and wait for a wee bit and then refresh the map view and see what I've done. And you see there's only the roads there, there's nothing else. And the river shore. Should be quite a difference. So I've refreshed the page now and it still doesn't look like super dense, but it's a rural townland, so can't really expect that much. And there was no forest or anything. If I had done all the fields, it would look a bit more colourful, but at least we have all the buildings now. Oh look, and the hedges aren't displayed at the zoom level, I guess, which is 15. If I zoom in I can see a bit more even, so I see the hedges and I see all the power poles coming along here, and you see down here the ring for the smaller one, how it's enclosed by this hedge and the 2 trees. And the other one was up here, but there wasn't a hedge around it, so I couldn't do much. And we have the stream there and the quarry, and you see that symbol there to indicate the land use quarry, which is probably abandoned by now. But there was still an excavator there in one of the imageries. and so I don't see the island because I guess I hadn't defined any land use, which would have been farmland or grass, but again I don't really know if it is being used. And here you see how where I did the riverbank, it looks a bit more authentic, I guess, compared to down here we just have the somewhat thicker line to indicate that it's a river as compared to a stream. I won't continue doing this riverbank. So that's the townland of Toberadora, and I'm probably butchering the name, done. And you're welcome, people in Toberadora, and may the postman find you even better now, or DHL or FedEx or whoever they are. And see you in the next video. Bye!